Hi, this is Daniel from Vile, Iconic Magazine's metal section. As part of their upcoming visit on November the 16th at the Mexico Metal Fest in Mexico City, we have a guest all the way from Australia. I hope I pronounced the name correctly, Ne Obliviscaris. I hope I did it right, man. I've been trying
It's
so
pretty,
hard.
it's pretty close. Yeah, Ne Obliviscaris
Yeah.
is but it's the thought that counts.
Yeah, I guess like considering that, I speak Spanish and it's like like that would be
It's
like
Latin.
mother tongue. Yeah, Latin, exactly. I should be able to do so. But yeah, anyways, I hope I did a good job. So how you doing, man?
Great. Yeah, very good. And yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. So right now you're in Australia?
Yes, yeah, I'm here in Melbourne, Australia, in my home studio, and looking forward to being back in Mexico in November though.
Yeah, yeah, that's gonna be great. So, I mean, a lot of people like probably are getting to know like a lot of the bands that are gonna be at the festival. So, if you can give us like some background, I would start like probably with the name. How did you guys came up with this name? That would be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like at the time, the idea was to try to come up with something that was like not super obvious, that had a bit of, meaning to it. And, the origin of like Ne Obliviscaris, as far as our awareness of that as a word is, that there's a Scottish family. It's like the motto for the Scottish family named Campbell, and that's Zen, our vocalist. That's his surname, and so that was kind of the awareness of the name. And it's like, oh, what do you think about this as a potential idea? And yeah, with every band name, it's just like, hey, yeah, that sounds cool, and that's what you go with.
Exactly, exactly. Makes sense. And regarding like the genre that you play, I always trying of get a better idea of actually the music that you create, and especially because in metal with like so many genres and subgenres, right? Like everyone, I guess, have like their own definition, and I hate putting like musicians on their spot, right? But sometimes they don't really know exactly what genre they fall in, or they don't care too much. But in this case, I guess like at least here in Mexico, we consider you like extreme metal, if that makes sense. But from your point of view, what can you tell us?
Yeah, I guess the definition has kind of changed over the years because we don't fit very well into any particular genre, and we definitely don't fit into any scene. But, I guess like the most common like description using words is probably like progressive extreme metal, because we have all those progressive melodic elements, but it is still, fairly extreme at times. But of course, you don't really know what that means, until you actually listen to the band. So I guess it's the limitations of trying to express, you know, something artistic and just using a few words. So, for us, I just always encourage people to, hey, just try listening to a song or two and note that it takes you on a bit of a journey, and there's this, that, and the other, and it's extreme, and it's acoustic, and there's violins and a lot of different things that you could imagine, and it's probably a bit different to anything you've heard before.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. This is your music is quite unique, which is one of the things that I love about your band. And just going a little bit deeper, on like the influences, or let's say the different genres that you put all together in this case, like back in the day, let's say when you started like making music, because I know that here you have like kind of like jazz, like classical music, like all of these like good stuff. How I mean, where does everything started? Like, did you used to like listen to something in particular? Like, were you into some other sort of music, or like you started with metal? So what can you tell us?
Yeah, so I guess, I mean, it goes back to, I was about 6.5 years old when I started studying classical violin. And I studied classical violin for about 20 years. Went to university, did studied classical violin and performance and composition and stuff like that. But I guess then, in high school, I was really into punk and hardcore, and then I started getting into metal, and I guess it was just that, you know, eventual meeting of worlds of my artistic expression as a violinist. And, I thought that when I was at university, I was going to become a classical violinist, as far as my profession. But at the same time, I was trying to start a band because I loved music and I loved going to shows. Going to shows was my favorite thing. And I was trying to teach myself guitar. And I thought maybe I can be a singer and maybe I can learn the guitar because I didn't think you could play violin in a metal band. And so when I met Zen and the idea came about, it was actually his idea of, hey, would you be interested in inviting me to come along? It was like, yeah, this is great because it was kind of combining those two loves. And then over time, eventually the classical violin world kind of faded away and, decided that this was a lot more fun. I get to write music and, express myself and collaborate with some incredible musicians that I play with in the band and kind of combine those loves with my violin and as a singer as well with, being in a band and writing music.
Right. And so the rest of the band, would you say they have kind of the same background when it comes like to, for example, classical music or like these other, genres, or not at all?
Yeah, no, not at all, really. I mean, everyone's very different. We're all really different. That's probably one of the other reasons why the music sounds unique.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, I think that really only half the band has much experience or like training, like proper training, like a Martino on bass and Benji on guitar, has some, proper training, can read music and all that sort of stuff. And whereas Matt's like mostly self-taught on guitar and Xana's a vocalist, mostly self-taught, and then Dan on drums, was just an incredibly hard worker, but mostly self-taught as well. So, it was a real mixture. I was the only one really with a classical background, to the degree of, doing university and all that sort of stuff. But what we all had in common was everybody worked really, really hard at their instrument, and everyone was super passionate about writing music and playing in a band and trying to, achieve what we wanted to do, which wasn't really about necessarily touring the world and playing in wonderful places like Mexico. It was just trying to be the best we could be at being us. And then every time we got a bit better, kind of new doors kept opening. And all of a sudden, second album, and oh, hey, we're getting invited to, play in Europe and USA. And then third album came, and oh, hey, we got invited to play in Mexico for the first time. And, now we're 4 albums in, and things just keep growing and keep getting bigger and bigger, which is exciting.
That's pretty cool. And do you have like, is this like let's say like kind of like a full-time hobby job kind of thing, or like do you guys have other gigs going on at the same time? Because I mean, obviously as a musician, and I guess that's just like worldwide, right? Or and especially I guess with metal, which is like a very very like particular kind of music. No, it's I would say it's kind of hard, right? Unless like you're like a massive band, probably, like, and back in
Yeah.
the like when actually selling albums was like something that you would actually get money out of it. So what's the situation there?
Yeah, so I guess like you said, like most bands don't don't really make any money at all. Like for us, we're really grateful. We were actually the first band in the world to successfully use Patreon to help fund our career. That was back in March 2016. We launched that. And because of that, from the time that launched, we were able to kind of get a part-time income from that point onwards, which was fantastic because before that time, in the 13 years before that, we literally had not paid ourselves $1 because anytime we made money on a show, it would just get invested back into tours and shows and albums and all that sort of stuff. And so now, I mean, like these days, like this is pretty much all I do, because I manage the band as well and trying to do book world tours and all this sort of stuff is a pretty massive job. So in between tours, I come home and I'll work on booking the next tours. Right now, obviously booking and organizing everything for this upcoming tour, Europe and Latin America, but we've also got a bunch of things happening next year. And so that's kind of my day job in between tours. And yeah, but the other guys go back to the other jobs that they do in between. And so
Mhm.
it's a bit of that mix and match. So we do well enough that we get paid something when we're on the road. But you know, still not well enough that everyone can do it full time. But you know, hopefully that will come in time. It's very rare these days for many bands to get there, but you know, we like the trend of the band's career, which is going really well.
Right, I'm sure it is. And so now that you mention it, like, you know, whenever you come back, you're the one that actually has to do all the booking and, you know, look for gigs and, you know, what have you. So this is more like a, I would say like a DIY band, like you actually manage yourselves and you're the one that, you know, looks for, you know, new opportunities to play and such.
Yeah, yeah. So my background here in Australia was, you know, I used to work as a tour promoter, a booking agent, a manager, like for like a lot of Australian like local bands and stuff like that in like the metal and prog scene. Yeah, I started doing that back in about 2007. And originally, you know, it was me just putting on a few shows for us. And then it was doing it for our friends' bands and then just for other bands that we really liked. So I used to have like a decent sized booking agency and all that sort of stuff in Australia. A lot of that kind of got shut down because we tour too much. I'm too busy to do a bunch of stuff for a lot of other bands anymore. But because of that, you know, we try to do as much stuff as we can independently because you know, if I'm able to do it, then instead of getting some outside promoter to do our Australian tour, which we do sometimes do, but if we can do it ourselves, you know, instead of 30% going to an outside promoter, we can just finance and keep the money ourselves, you know. And then, you know, it just means that there's more money in the pie to then make it work for us. And so yeah, we are staunchly independent. You know, we love doing things ourselves. And I guess, you know, I've really done kind of almost everything. I used to have a small record label and anything in the music industry I've done a little bit of. And then, like I said, most of that's then been shut down, and I've just been putting all that knowledge into just trying to do the best possible with Neo to keep it going and keep growing and developing as a band.
Nice. And regarding like this upcoming presentation, I guess that just probably I don't know if you have like an specific like you know set list, like if you're planning to play you know music only from your latest album, if you have you know some new songs like playing you know something back from you know the demo albums. I don't know what can you tell us on that.
Yeah, you know, I don't think we've actually decided on the set list for the Mexico show because we have like 31 shows on that tour for Europe, Latin America back to back, and
Mhm.
it's the very last show. So, um, but I can say like we'll definitely be doing, you know, at least a couple tracks I'm sure off the new album Exile because we've never played that stuff in Mexico before. And yeah, and then we'll be playing some other stuff off, you know, probably try to see if we can do something off each record. You know, the songs are all pretty long, so it's
Mhm.
never a lot of songs, but you know, we try to make each one count.
Yeah, exactly. There's never enough time, right? Especially on a festival, I guess. Like you will need to
Yeah.
spend like probably 2 or 3 hours, you know, just playing, so we can, you know, be able to actually listen to a little bit of all the albums, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And at the moment, you have any plans? Like, is there any you know new music? Any you know plans to record something? You know, sometime soon. I know that you're touring, and you know there are like you know it's a quite an extensive tour, but I don't know if there's something yet scheduled in the future.
Yeah, so there isn't anything set scheduled in regards to recording, but you know, we just started kind of the beginning of writing, you know, the next record, just little bits and pieces here and there in between tours, and that'll be something that, you know, we're definitely aiming to, you know, basically write and record new record, you know, sometime next year. So that's kind of on the agenda. Next few months, we're still pretty busy on the road, next 6 months or so, but we're kind of doing a bit here and there with the writing, and then it'll kind of flick a switch to just making that the full focus so we can do a whole new record and get back out on the road again and get back to wonderful places like Mexico and everywhere else.
Yeah, nice. Sounds great, man. Man, well, we'll be looking forward, obviously, to see you again on November the 16th here in Mexico City at the MXMF Metal Fest. So hopefully, we'll be able to listen to as much as we can from, all of your different albums, which is something that I'm sure all of the fans will be looking forward to, for sure.
Well, thank you so much. And just to everyone out there, yeah, excited to see you. Mexico is always some of the best fans in the world. So it'll be lots of fun, I'm sure.
Yeah, we're very passionate, so for sure we will enjoy your show, man. That's for sure.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
All right, man. Thank you for your time. Take care.
My pleasure.
All right.